Hi, Karen here, and in this video, I want to give you a tip for struggling readers using the McGuffies. You could do this with the first reader, you could do this with the second reader. Now, I have my RC Course of Littles, which is not currently available for purchase. I'm working on it, I'm fine-tuning some things, and some of those are having to do with kids that are need a little bit more learning challenges. I feel fortunate, I can say that, I feel fortunate that I've had kids kind of all over the spectrum, where it's very easy for them to, it's very hard for them, because that helps me to be able to help you out there no matter where you're at, because I've probably gone through it myself with 6 kids. So let's talk about struggling readers. Again, RC Course of Littles, I talk about how I like this method, having them read out loud to me, the primer, the first reader, and the second reader before they start the RC book list completely on their own, on the book of The Tale of Jolly Robin. That's where I let them, they're free. They don't have to do any phonics lessons with me or reading with me, no sessions, nothing, flashcards. They're on their own. Now, for most kids, I think that works pretty well. And the reason why I have them, read aloud to me, and then, I ask the questions at the end of the lesson, is just to gauge their comprehension, see their fluency, make sure they're okay, be able to pick up any mistakes and work on those phonics lessons, right? Or review the flashcards. However, I noticed that with struggling readers, this is really not productive. In fact, I realized it's counterproductive, because they are barking at the text. They can read the whole thing, and then it just went over their head. They were so focused on trying to pronounce and say everything correctly that they didn't comprehend it at all. And it just does not make for a good time for the reader or the one being read to. It's just a bad situation. So instead of having them read out loud the lesson to you, struggle through it, and then you ask those questions at the end, and they can't answer those questions very well, and then you work on the vocabulary at the end. I just have them read the words out loud, practice those more challenging words, struggling through that after they probably feel bad that they didn't understand the story. Scratch all that. For some kids, that works out fine. But for those that are having challenges with this, the best thing you could do, I have found, is for you to read out loud the story to them first. Read it out loud to them, and then ask the questions. And of course, when you do it this way, they comprehended the story and they can answer those questions, like night and day difference from when they read it out loud to you to when you read it out loud to them. They'll be able to answer those questions, and then have them read the vocabulary words out loud to you. They most likely, make sure you kind of do your pointer finger and they're following along. So they more than likely kind of saw you, maybe they'll still struggle, but they saw you read that word. So even though it was unfamiliar with them, they have a better shot at guessing what that word says. Now, what this does is it gives them that general knowledge. I talked about in the Reading Magic video how one of the things that you can do, to have that reading magic, that they really get it, is to have general knowledge. If somebody gave me a Shakespeare play and said, read this out loud, and I had never read it before, I'm sure I would struggle and focus so much on just reading everything correctly and properly and not sounding dumb. And if you ask me at the end of it, what was it about? I'd probably be like, I don't know, let me reread this, right? It happens to even adults. So instead, when you read it out loud to them, you're giving them just that general knowledge, that feel, the vocabulary, what it's about. Then, after you read it to them and go through the questions and answers and they work on the vocabulary, then you have them read it out loud to you. And so don't think like, well, it's cheating. They're not going to memorize the whole thing after you just read it once, right? They're still going to have to work through and read it, but it's a night and day difference versus a cold read. So what they need is practice. So this is a way to practice. And then you work on any phonics issues, get those RC phonics flashcards out after this, and kind of go through what they're struggling with, whatever phonics rule it is. And, maybe just do like a couple. Don't overdo it. Just a couple of them. Slow and steady wins the race. You're sending that foundation. If you're doing school 6 days a week, you're going to get through this book, and then they're on their own. Then they're reading completely on their own. But you want to make sure they get lots of practice. Now, once they start the RC book list, for example, with Jolly Robin, again, with struggling readers, maybe kids on the spectrum, I have found that there's a big difference versus scenario A, when you just say, read 2 chapters and then tell me what you read about. And then they read it, but they can kind of piece a couple things from the chapters, versus you reading out loud 1 chapter to them and then having them reread that chapter to themselves silently, plus 1 more chapter. So they're still reading a chapter on their own. You know, you're doing 2 chapters a day. 1 of them is on their own. They're still rereading that one you read out loud to them. But the comprehension level, the reading session itself, the how enjoyable it was, again, night and day difference between the 2 scenarios. So I have found that that really makes a difference. So again, maybe consider just in those first book that they're on their own, right? Read aloud a chapter to them and then have them reread it and read the next one silently to themselves. And then ask them, what did you read about? I'm sure that you will find they comprehend so much more. And they're, again, familiar with what's going on, general knowledge, all of that. So, you know, part of it is the vocabulary you use at home. That's one part of it. The other part of it is phonics, of course, just reading, understanding what you're reading, the print on the page. And number 3 is general knowledge. Those 3 really make up this reading magic formula. I hope that that video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you'd like to be on the waiting list for when RC Littles does open up again, email me at Karen@OurHouseHomeschooling.com. Right now, it's only available for people who purchase the lifetime bundle, the RC lifetime bundle, but hopefully, I'm hoping I can work on it and bring it back in the summertime. And I'm hoping to make it really just high quality and covering things like this, like what to do with struggling readers, but pretty much the general formula of it is the same. But I just want to polish it up and add a few more things like this. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in another video.